Here we go. Patience. I will start off and say, I am not a patient person. When I decide that I want to do something, I want to do it right now. When I make a decision, I want the results right now. When I go on vacation and there's a road trip, I want to be from point A to point B right now. And sometimes I forget to enjoy the journey from point A to point B. I've been talking to a few people through the week, and I'm starting to hear a common theme of patience is something that a lot of people seem to feel that maybe there's some room for some work to be done. So I hope I'm not the only one, but here we go. The first thing I'm going to do, I was gifted this book. It's just simply is What If? The author is a woman that wrote this when she was 100 years old. And she looked back at some of the wisdom that she's gained throughout her life. And it all is, what if, with a thought question. So I chose this one today. Just sit and think about this. Take this with you through the week. What if I trusted God's wisdom as much as I trust his power? It falls right in line with patience. The verse I want to read first, this won't be up on the screen, but I'll read it to you, is 2 Peter 3, verse 9. This comes from the Message version. The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness, but is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. I sat with that verse for a bit this week. And all of a sudden it just struck me of how often I've heard people say, Christians say, oh man, I sure wish God would come. I hope he comes quick. This world is a mess. It's like, please, God, can you come fast? But you know what we're saying? We're asking selfishly for him to come so we can be free of this. But what about all those that don't know him yet? What are we saying about them? Are they not worthy of hearing, of being given what we have? I'm thankful that God in his wisdom doesn't think like we do. Because there's certainly been times when I'm like, God, can you just come now already? Like, just take us all there and get us out of this messy place. But God's like, but I love them too. I love them too. And he is patiently taking time in order that many will hear and be saved. So on that note, trusting God's process and finding real peace. I chose that as a title because often in trusting the process, we're often left feeling frustrated and full of anxiety. We're not often happy about the process. So, talking about patience, something I think that we often feel is in short supply in our life, maybe. I know for me, patience is, I'm not overflowing in patience, especially when we're working through the ups and downs, maybe of recovery, something that a lot of us here understand. We all know the pressure that we put on ourselves to get better fast. Whether you have a substance use disorder or not, I think you all know something in your life that would apply to. We want to fix things immediately. We want to jump into the next new chapter and never look back. But really, that lasting change, that takes time. It's messy. It's sometimes really frustrating. But what I've also found now, looking back, isn't that really where the healing happens? You lead the process. When is the healing going to happen? If you're point A to point B like this, where's the room for healing? Where's the room for learning? Where's the room for growth? The waiting. I'm trying to do technology all by myself, so bear with me. My person's over there to save me.
Bring it on.
We're on a good goal. Waiting is truly, it's part of our journey. All through the Bible, waiting and waiting and waiting. It happened all the time. We often think about the Israelites in Egypt. You know, we got the glorious epic stories. They went through the Red Sea. The Egyptians are chasing them down in the chariots. They're going through the Red Sea, the waters, all the exciting things. And then the desert. 40 years. And I'm like, you know, these people journeying, it takes a long time to get there, and then you look on a map. And it's like, who was the navigator? It doesn't take 40 years to get from Egypt to the promised land. It's not that far. And then you sit and think, 40 years. God promised them something and said, I'm bringing you to it. Do you think they really thought it was 40 years down the road? They knew how far it was there. They went 40 years wandering through that desert. There's no straight line, no beeline there. It was a long, long way. We live in a culture that prizes speed. You don't think so? How often have you sat there thinking your microwave is taking way too long to reheat your leftovers? I know, like, staying in front of it going like, oh my goodness, like, hurry up already. But then I remember when I was a kid and we got our first microwave and we were in awe. Like, this is so fast. When did it become slow? And what caused me to now look at it as if it's slow? It hasn't changed. It might even be faster. I mean, these things do magical things now. Who knows? Or what about waiting for somebody to respond to us? I know I can sometimes think it's like, I sent Robert this message and like, I know he's read it because my phone shows me he is not answering me. And then I'm like, okay, he is kind of at crossroads. He is at work and he's not ignoring me. I'm not patient about those things. And then I'm going to really convict myself here. You can ask my husband how I am when it comes to driving. Most of you know the little woo-woos went up behind me a couple weeks ago.
83 and a 55. Let's clarify the little movement.
You know, you have that feeling where you're like, there's no skating out of this one, you know? I'm just going to be nice and pleasant and this very young, sweet, brand new police officer. Where are you going? Going to babysit my grandkids? You know, I could have thought of all kinds of things, you know, made something up, but I went with reality. I was impatient. I didn't want to enjoy the drive. I just wanted to be there. I was impatient with the semi-truck in front of me that pulled out in front of me on Carson Road when it was wide open behind me and I'm the only car. And all of a sudden he's like, me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? For real. And then Greenville. How many of you have tried to get through Greenville? There's like 47 lights sometimes, all red. And traffic a mile long. And you're like, I'm almost there. And then the person doesn't turn and you're like, oh, I got 3 more stoplights to get 3 traffic cars through that. Yeah, it's a mess. So don't drive with me because you're going to hear it. I'm working on it though. It's easy to think though that if we just try hard enough or if we push a little faster, we're going to get to that finish line sooner. But are we? Recovery isn't a sprint. It's steady, often bumpy, if you're like me, but it's a journey where each and every day matters. We need to approach it more like a marathon. It requires proper training, proper fuel, proper preparation. It requires attention to it. Not a fighting against it. There's no getting around. There's a process from point A to point B. But we don't often get to dictate what that is or how long it's going to take. We have somebody that knows more than we do. Let's try this again. Yes. So James says, friends, be patient until the coming of the Lord. Look at the farmer waiting for the precious harvest from the soil, waiting patiently for the early and the autumn rains. Now, I know that we're not all farmers here, but we We're in a community where there are a lot of farmers. There's a lot of farmland around us. And for some of us, that may not be a relatable picture, but the idea here is really pretty simple. There's a season for everything. Do that again. There is a season for absolutely everything in your life. It's not accidental at all. When you're in recovery, that waiting, that's never wasted time, ever. That's where you find the process of rebuilding yourself. Every single day that you stay in the struggle of life, substance use or not, every single one of us struggles in life. Life is hard. Life is hard. But you stay in that struggle and you grow, you learn, and you prepare for a better tomorrow, even if you can't see it right away. Does anyone relate to that? You relate to that? We need to turn that worry into a source of peace. It doesn't make much sense to a lot of people. How in the world do you turn worry into peace? I have a feeling there's not a single person in here that has never had a day of worry. In fact, I think the opposite is true. I think that humanity has become a people that worries all the time. I worry all the time. I worry about people. I worry about things. I worry about finances. I worry about this ministry and making sure that it goes well so we can serve you. Worry is everywhere. And it's natural to feel anxious if progress is slow. We are worried about setbacks. We worry and have fear about not moving fast enough, or we feel tempted to quickly jump into the next thing just to escape the discomfort. Paul offers a different perspective. Don't fret for worry. Instead of worrying, pray. Let petitions and praises shape your worries into prayers, letting God know your concerns. Before you know it, a sense of God's care, whatever our circumstances, will come and settle you down. Will come. It's wonderful, the peace of God. So think about that. Instead of letting anxiety pile up, we can turn our worries into a conversation with God. Do we really realize what we've been given, that we have direct access to our Father God? Access that allows us to have a conversation. Like I'm talking to you, that's how we can talk to God. You don't have to have a formal prayer. You don't have to be in a certain place. You can have your eyes wide open at work and be having that conversation with God. That's how intimate your relationship with God is. That's how real He really is. He is that close. A conversational Father God. When we do that, when we converse with Him like that, we are inviting that peace that only comes from Him to settle inside of us. That peace isn't about everything being perfect. It's about trusting that God is in control, maybe even especially when our lives feel out of control and chaotic. I felt a lot of that lately. Romans 15:13, I pray that God, the source of hope, will fill you completely with joy and peace because you trust in Him. Then you will overflow with confident hope through the power of the Holy Spirit. This is never and will never be a promise that every day is going to be easy. And I think it's often Christians that forget that. We don't understand why life stays so hard and why we are often hurt, why we often struggle, and why losses continue. I hear often, and it's been from me too, but it's like, God, like I'm leaning into you. I'm being faithful. I'm saying yes. I'm doing what you call me to do. And I think without even saying it, there's part of me that assumed life was going to get so much better. You know, like, phew, smooth sailing. You know, it's kind of like the Meyer Trail here. Some parts are all bumpy, gravelly, and you swear your bike's going to go down. And then you hit that new, smooth, paved part. I think Christians think life before is that gravelly, bumpy part. And then it's smooth sailing. I think it's the opposite. I think we were smooth sailing before. And then we said yes to God. And God's like, I'm going to bring you through the bumps. Romans is a reminder that when we truly, fully trust in our Father God, that hope and that peace that he promises, it has a way of creeping in those most difficult times of our life. So think about this. Like, really think about this. Think about something right now that sits heavy on you. Things that are hard, anxieties, worries, burdens, sorrows, anything. Think about what in your life right now is one of your biggest burdens. You can just hand it to God. And then you and me, we get to continue living a full and rich life the way he has given it to us. But why do we so often choose to hang on to it and refuse to give it to him? Why do we want to sit and hold on to it instead of handing it to the one who can redeem it, who can cover it and remove it? Why is it that humans want to hang on to the worry, the stress, all the things that do everything that keep us calm? Why can't we sit in patience and say, I'm going to give this thing to my Father God, and I'm not taking it back. I will wait in patience as he works it to my good and my benefit. And I'm saying this for my own. We need to be better at bringing it to God and leaving it there. We bring our backpacks full of junk, and we set it down, and we feel good. And then we go back home, but we bring it back with us. Or those boulders that we're carrying, we go and we set all of them down, but a couple said, I'm going to hang on to these. And that can be a lot of things. It can be anger, bitterness, frustrations, worries, anxieties, all these things. But it's saying, God, I don't quite trust you with these yet. I'm going to just keep these and manage these on my own. So let's talk about some practical steps to grow your patience, because I know I need to work on it. I've been trying this week, and I'm telling you, it isn't easy. If the waiting is hard, how can we make it easier? So maybe there's a few simple things. I say simple knowing it's simple to say, it can be difficult to put into practice. You can pause and check in. When you feel the urge to rush into something, a common thing that I see in the recovery community is we can be impulsive. We can rush into things. Like we're looking for that quick hit, let's go, 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 go. Whether it's a decision, a relationship, a new habit, we should stop and ask ourselves, what is it that we really need? Is this decision coming from a place of genuine readiness for that thing you want to jump into? Or are you just trying to fill a void that you're feeling in your life? Take a moment and just breathe and try to step back and see the big picture more clearly. Focus on the present. I get lost in this one sometimes because I've got a lot of past that sometimes calls my name. And no. It's tempting to let our minds race to the future or dwell on past mistakes. The old nemesis duo of anxiety and shame and guilt. So instead, try to keep yourself here and now. You're not there, and you're certainly not there. Notice the small positive moments. A supportive word from a friend, I know what that does in my life. It's amazing how God works with the right people that often are there saying the right thing at exactly the right time, and they often don't even know it. A moment of quietness. Are we people that practice that? When's the last time that you intentionally took a moment of quietness? If you don't do that regularly, I'm going to gently challenge you to start practicing that. When things start building and your patience is gone, stop and pause and be quiet. Or even sometimes just feeling your feet on the ground. That sounds very simplistic. It can be a powerful thing. Take your shoes off and stand on the ground and feel. I like to ground yourself and immerse yourself in the here and now. Be present here and now. I know a good part of my life in the past, and still a smaller part of my life now, gets consumed by future worries and past shame. And what does that do to my here and now? How much have I missed because I didn't stay present in here and now? God doesn't give us life all at once. He gives it to us in 24-hour periods of time. Sometimes he gives it to us a second at a time. He knows us, and he knows what we need far better than we do. Turn your anxiety into prayer. Whenever worry starts to creep its way in, make it a practice to turn that worry into a prayer. Speak your fears, speak your hopes, and speak your frustrations to God. I love that we have David in the Psalms that often is seen raising a fist to God, shouting to God, throwing it all out to God. I think a lot of us as Christians, if we saw that happening, we saw somebody praying that way, we might think, what is wrong with you? You don't talk to God that way. Really? The Psalms is full of it. David made some bold demands of God. Bold. If you don't think so, start reading the Psalms and see what he had to say.
He was a man after God's own heart.
He was. And David was a rapist and a murderer. He wasn't an adulterer. We often call him an adulterer. It's not what he was. The fact that we can see David as he really was makes the story of what God did in his life far greater than saying he was an adulterer and Bathsheba was equally to blame, because that's not how it was at all. God is there to hear you in all of it. And the surprising thing shouldn't be a surprise. He already knew it before you said it. Don't be afraid to bring anything to him, because he's like, you think I didn't know that? I knew everything from the day you drew your first breath to the day you were conceived to the day you drew your last and stepped in front of me in my presence. There's nothing that's a surprise to me. He's waiting for us to bring it to him so we can be free of our burden. Not to punish us, not to say you wicked, sinful failure of a human being. He's your dad. He's waiting for you. His arms are wide open. He wants to hold you close. He says, I got that. I've just been waiting for you to let go of it. That's all. Just voicing your worries and your concerns, it does make it lighter. The weight will be lifted. And it's shocking how much calmer you can feel after, even if the issue is still fully present. Build consistent routines. Create some daily routines. I'm not saying structure your entire life so it's all in these little boxes. I'm hoping we're not called to that, because I'm not wired that way. I'm like, I'm all over. I'm very thankful I have somebody that's more structured in my life to put some parameters because I'm like, oh, the wind's blowing all over and there I go. It's how I'm created. But take a few minutes to read, maybe journal, or sometimes just sit quietly with your own thoughts, but get used to those moments of seeking that connection to God. Take yourself out of the franticness of life. Technology is an amazing thing, but it's also one of the things I hate most that's happened to this world. It's disconnected us from so many things, and it makes us want instant everything, and we've forgotten how to be quiet. Just to sit in quietness. When you start doing this, it often starts to provide a sense of stability in your life. Routines remind you that recovery from anything, it's a process, and every single day is meant to contribute to your overall growth. And celebrate the small victories. We always overlook those. Not always. We often overlook those because we're looking for the big win. You know, those little things, we often kind of, not such a big deal. But I'm telling you, one of my favorite moments on Friday nights is talking about any milestone things. Do you know the ones that I get most excited about? 24 hours. 3 days. Do you know how much I want to just stand up and cheer and celebrate that? Those are the victories we need to be celebrating. Those aren't minor things. That's a huge thing. That's step one of the greatest journey you might be taking in your entire life. Own that thing. Let yourself celebrate it. Don't say, oh yeah, but they had like 30 years. 30 years is a beautiful thing. That's a blessing and a gift, but it started with 24 hours. Without the 24 hours, you don't get 30. So I don't care how many times somebody might come here and stand up and said, 24 hours. I will celebrate that every single time. Just keep starting and then keep going. So choose to attend that meeting. Choose to make it through a difficult day looking to your Father God. Or simply make the choice to get up and try again. Don't be defeated by the setbacks. Don't quit when you fall. Get up. Get back up and keep going. God is there. He's not going to do it for you, but He promised you every step of the way, I'm right here at your side. Every step of the way. No matter what happens in your life, God made the promise. Anything bad, I may allow that into your life. God didn't send it. God is incapable of doing anything that is not an attribute of Him. God is a God of love and goodness, and He cannot be the opposite. He doesn't send cancer. He doesn't send war. He doesn't send divorce. He doesn't send any of that. But God does allow it because He knows what He can make out of it in your life. So be thankful. And I said that. Be thankful for those lessons. And I don't say that because it's easy. And I say that knowing what that means for some people. Because I know what it means in my life. The first time I said the words, and I said it last night, and I think I might have said it to you. I'm talking to you, Dave. I am thankful for every single moment, the journey my life took. And for those of you who know my story, you know what I'm saying. I'm thankful because it put me right here. So I'm thankful. Even in the asking, Father God, please protect me and please don't ask me to ever walk those same journeys again. But I know and I pray that if He asks that of me, I will do it again because I have seen personally what He will do with it. And he will do it for everybody. He's done it for my husband. I know his story. I know what he's been given. So recognize the wins. Celebrate those big ones. Those are fabulous. But I would love to get back to celebrating the small ones and share that with the people around you. I sure love to celebrate it all. Big and small, bring it. Bring it. I'm ready. They're all signs that you're moving forward, even if the pace seems slow. Remember the microwave seems slow, and it used to be lightning fast. I'm doing this. Overcome the urge to rush. That was a hard one to even put on a slide because I'm like so convicted by this. I'm always like, I'm always going. I'm wiggly, I'm antsy. It's how I'm wired. And it's easy. It's so easy to get caught up in the idea that progress needs to be fast. But sometimes when we rush, we end up making decisions we may later regret. I got a million of them. Anybody else? Anybody else rushed and has some regrets because of it?
I have a kind of an interesting story about that.
Yeah.
Just this morning, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at something. I had an offer, and it came through on
Yes.
my phone. It is like an add-on to something that I already subscribed to.
Yep.
And it was a super cheap price, and like it's an annual, like $30 a year.
Yeah.
But $1 for the next 3 months. And
Yep.
so I'm like, this is doable. $30 a year. I mean, it's $250 a month. Like, okay. And so I'm going through there. I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
Yes.
So I start filling it out.
Oh.
And it wouldn't let my card process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, try a different card. And there was another row. And I went, okay, I hear you. I'm not supposed to do this. Even though
Yes.
it looks like a really good deal. That was God
Yes.
telling me, this isn't
Yeah.
what you're supposed to be doing right now.
A simple
We're
process.
blocking away, so you're not. I mean, I'm sure I could have figured out a way to make it work
Yes.
if I'd have been determined to. But I chose to see it as a sign and go, okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yes.
I'm moving too quickly, step back, it'll be fine. You know?
Yes. Thank you. So that rushing and those decisions we may regret. Maybe it's jumping into a new relationship too fast. Because, man, that can be an addiction. New relationship, that feels good. All those feelings, you rake that. And then the real hits. Oh. Yeah, the red flags start to get real big then. Before they used to, those little tiny cupcake little flags. It's just a tiny thing. I think this is that. And pretty soon, you've got this enormous 20 by 80 foot red flag just all flopping around. And you're like, yeah, I chose that, didn't I? Yep. So, you know what I'm talking? I know there's people that know what I'm talking about. So, or maybe it's jumping into a new routine without even thinking about it or preparing for it or trying to find a quick fix because you just want some relief from the discomfort of waiting. What happens with those quick fixes? What if it's a car? You go to a mechanic. They're like, it's a major thing, but take me 5 minutes, we'll have you out, should be fine. And off you go. Chances are not real good that 5-minute quick fix job on the engine of that car is going to do any kind of good whatsoever. And the same is true about life. While being impulsive and making those quick choices, it might offer that temporary relief. And I'm not going to lie, that can feel good. We all want relief from things that hurt us, whether it's physical, like you break your leg, you want relief from that. That hurts. But we have things that aren't like evident, like a broken leg, but they still cause us hurt. We want relief from that too. But often, God may be asking you to wait. And he'll say, I know this hurts. I know it does. Trust me with it. Just trust me, because the other side of this is amazing. Don't allow it to lead you to another setback, just trying to avoid feeling the pain of something. Recovery is about building a strong foundation, and that foundation is built over time. What happens if you build the house of your dreams without a foundation? How do you build your life to be a life that is rich and full and good with no foundation? You can't. You can't. And that's often what a quick fix is. You're skipping the foundation part. That foundation needs to be complete. Complete. A weak spot in a foundation means a weak spot in a home. Thinking of yourself as a home. When your home has a weak spot, that doesn't get strong over time. It starts to affect the strong parts of the house too. That can't maintain and take over for that spot. The foundation has to be built first. That's where patience comes in. If you start to look at it that way, God knows what he's doing. He knows what your life needs, and that's a foundation. We need to let him build it. We need to let him build it. It's about understanding who you are. Do you know who you are? What you truly need. Wants and needs are very different things. We have a God that supplies our needs. He never promised, I'm going to give you your wants. Because I know I want a baby goat.
Yeah, she does.
I'm not really anticipating that God's going to see that as a need, though, so. They're cute. What can I say? So.
We can make that happen.
I know. Is it of God? Oh, did I just hear God's voice? No. But it's also, we need to know how to nurture the relationships and the habits. And I want you to hear this next part. You ready? That support our journey. What that really means is actually really difficult. In the Bible, it is stated, Jesus had said, you may be called to leave even family to follow God, and that goes against our nature. That goes against our nature. You need to have a foundation that includes people and habits that support your journey. For us in recovery, that's not optional. People in recovery have an eager group of people that we use to be in community with that are happy to have us back. We can't go there. I can't go there. There are friends that I no longer see and do things with because I recognize now the only thing we had in common, going on out, having a bunch of drinks, and that was our social time. But I'd come to realize when I stopped the drinking, that was an inch-deep friendship. And guess what? The rain came and that was gone. As soon as I quit drinking, the interest in spending time anymore with us, with me, wasn't there because we didn't have common interests and we didn't have a strong foundation in our friendship. Our lives look radically different the last couple of years, I would say, especially over the last year. We have people who support our recovery. I am surrounded by people who support me in my journey. I have good people. I have been called to walk away from people who I care about and love because they do not support my journey. It's not easy. Rushing into the next thing disrupts the process of recovery, disrupts our journey, disrupts the plan God truly has for us, and it leaves us feeling unsettled and unfulfilled. Whoever feels unsettled and unfulfilled, I do often, and I need to look at God. I need to. We need to trust the process and build our confidence because there's something powerful in trusting the process. When you allow yourself to wait, you're not giving up. Sometimes we can think that it's like we have this plan, we know what we have to do, and we think if we settle in and we wait, it often feels like, are we giving up on it? Why aren't we charging ahead? You're saying instead, I believe there is something better ahead, and I'm willing to work for it. Each moment of the waiting is an opportunity to learn, it's an opportunity to reflect, and it's an opportunity to truly prepare yourself for the next step. So take some time this week and reflect on a time when your waiting eventually did lead to something good. It might be a relationship that grew stronger over time. It could be a goal that after working hard for it actually came to light. Or even just a personal insight that you have from a quiet moment you allowed yourself. Remembering these things helps us to understand that patience is something really important in our life. So you just said that, so lower it. I know, I'll be all right. I'm getting there. We are called to trust and we are called to embrace the journey. I have had some parts of my journey that the last thing I wanted to do was embrace it. You know, it's like going up to a cactus and say, oh, love you, this is great, this feels so good, because it doesn't, this hurts. This hurts. But when you walk your recovery journey, be encouraged and look at waiting as part of the process rather than looking at it as if it's an obstacle. When you feel the pressure to rush, oh, this is convicting right there because I always want to rush, try this simple exercise. Pause. Take a breath and then ask yourself, what is God trying to show me in this moment? And then let yourself be guided in that answer. God will answer. He will guide you. Recovery is never going to be about instant fixes or overnight miracles. I suppose if God chose to do it that way, it absolutely would happen. But I believe that He doesn't choose that for us because He has a far better plan than an instant fix. He wants to give us the gift of learning. I'm thankful for a God that just doesn't step in and take over. We're not robots. God is perfectly capable of dictating and directing every single one of our lives. It could go perfectly this way. I got a plan for you and you and you. You're going to do this and you're going to do this and you're going to do this and everything's going to go perfect. God created us as human beings with thinking minds, and he created in us a desire to know him and to learn of him. And there is joy in that. There is joy in seeing the greatness of God shown in a radically changed life. I am thankful for a God that allows us the dip of joy in the journey. Recovery is about being steady, even when it's challenging, and working on becoming the person God intended you to be. And that work just simply takes time. When you choose to be patient, you invite peace into your life that carries you through the most difficult of moments. It helps you build resilience when you really, really need it. And that leads to lasting change. And in closing, I really want you to know this. Every moment that you spend waiting, every challenge that you face with a calm heart is a step towards a deeper and more fulfilling life. Trust that God is working in you. Really, really trust him, even when you don't see the immediate results. Progress is often slow, but I promise you that it's always steady. And that steady process, that's what builds that foundation that house you're building needs. There's no point in building that house until that foundation is done. So when it's really, really hard and you're getting really frustrated in your current situations, when you want it changed, you want it different, you want it better, and I get those things. I get those things because God didn't give you a spirit of just simply accepting where you are with no desire to change that. That's part of the process. But that uncomfortable space he may have you in, it could be where you're living, it could be the job you have, it could be family situations, it could be, is this desire for substances ever going to leave? It could be any number of things. But trust that even those things is foundation building things. Allow God to build it and be willing to work alongside of him on that. It's my prayer that you will find in God the strength to wait, the wisdom to reflect, and peace that will only come from trusting in God's perfect timing. We just need to keep moving forward. One deliberate and patient step at a time. I don't ever say anything because these are easy things to do. But at the same time, there's just no escaping that God knows what he's talking about. And this is his plan for you. This isn't me. Every single bit of this came from the Bible. Every single bit of it came from what he's told us. So we know that we can trust it. We can trust God. So ask him for patience. It's a scary thing. We talked about that last night. If you have never asked God for patience, if you do that and you mean it, I'm going to just gently suggest you might want to put a helmet on and buckle up because you will be taught patience. How do you learn patience without experiences that build patience? That's a hard thing to ask for. It's a hard thing to ask for, but it's building your foundation. So it's worth every bit of it. So your house can be strong. Because isn't that what we all want? Don't we all want our strong, beautiful house built on a foundation that's not going to fall apart? No. No. I've been on quicksand. I've been on mud. Tried it on the water. Whoops. I tried everything but a foundation. I have a foundation now. I can't even put into words the difference that makes. I feel a little cut off at the knees these past couple weeks, but I'm not falling. If I stumble, I'm right back up and going. I still find joy. I still feel peace. I still feel happiness. I still have all the things, even when I'm feeling the awfulness. And that's everything to me right now. Everything. I'm so grateful for a God who desires all people to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth and doesn't answer our prayers to come right now. I'm thankful for a God who is so patient because of his love for us. So that same God of patience is a God that can give us all the patience that we too need to build the life that we need to have. So on that note, I'm going to wrap this up because I could keep going and convince myself over and over. Patience is something I need to work on. I don't know if anybody else needs to work on it. Actually, I do, because a lot of you have told me that patience isn't your strong point. But be encouraged. Be encouraged. Learning patience is going to be one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself.